So let's go on to the display section here. It says icon captions is the first option. It says choose the order of information to appear beneath each icon name. It's like more information will appear when zooming in closer. So you can set an option here. That's a size, type, detailed type, and this is just talking about like the file name here. Size, date modified. So there's nothing by default in this first one. But actually, let me go into one of these other folder views. It will help illustrate this a little better. And as it said, as you zoom in, more information will show. So you can see there, in this view, nothing is there. It's just because there's not enough room at that current zoom level to display the additional information. But if you zoom in, you can see now it says, oh, there's 4 items in this folder. So it's trying to help you get some more information out of it. And then if you zoom in some more, all the way to the full one, you can see not only is there 4 items, but it's also got the date that you modified it. And so but you can actually change that. So you can go ahead and put, maybe you want, let's see, what would be a good thing to do there. Maybe type, let's see if that shows anything. No, it's not going to show much for a folder, I guess. Maybe date modified. No, that one either. Okay. Well, let's set that one back to none. Let's see here. Size. What about type? Is it going to change that? That might not change the view. Okay, it might just be because it's, remembering the settings for this individual folder. But that is what it's talking about, is you could change this information being displayed here. And it might also be because it needs an actual file here. Let me see if that's going to do any differently. Let me try type. No, it's just not going to update it right now on the fly. Okay, well, that's fine. But that's generally what it's talking about. For the icon captions, that's what it means. That's the information presented there. At only, as you can see, only at larger view settings there, larger zooms. So the date format, so you can change that. You did see it. It looks like this, but you can change the way that it formats it if you prefer a shorter date, or different ways of displaying it, less detailed information. And so window and tab titles. So this says show the full path in the title bar and tab bars. So if you toggle that, what does it do? Not that much, doesn't look like by default, but maybe it's possible some of these settings might need to close the file manager as well before they they'll take and update. File sizes for prefixes, you can make them in decimal long format, or binary if you prefer. And let's see, file properties. This says show advanced permissions in the file property dialog. So you can do that if you prefer. And a lot of these are not going to be, obviously every computer user is not going to use every single setting on their computer. So there's a lot of these that I've never even messed with, to be honest. I've never played around with any of the settings, and mostly that's because I don't have any need or real use to do that. But it's just good to know that there's settings like this in there, that in case you really wanted to customize your system in specific ways and for your specific needs, you have a lot of options available to you. So. And there's the move copy to menu, and it says list bookmarks in the menu, or list devices and network locations in the menu. So you are able to change whether or not bookmarks or devices or network locations appear in, like when you're going to move files or copy files over to these locations. They'll show up in a menu automatically, or you can turn that off if you don't want to do that. So. And so the list columns, when you're in the list view, here's just some toggles. It says choose the order of information to appear in list view. So you can customize. By default, it has name first, then size, then type, then date modified. But it has all these other options here that you can add if you like, and get some additional details about your files in the list view. And you can reorganize them using move up and move down here. Like you pick whatever one you want to select, say name, and you can move it down the list, and now it'll be the third column on the list view. So and if you want to go back to the defaults, you can just click this use default, and it'll go back to whatever it was, in case you can't remember how it was before you started messing around in there. It's a nice handy button to just go through. And the previews, so previewable files. This is kind of an interesting one. For whatever reason, Linux has historically even and continues to have a little difficulty sometimes with previewing certain file sizes. And what it means by preview, it's talking about the icon thumbnails basically. So you can see here it says show thumbnails, local files only is the default setting for that. So that's just talking about your stuff on your computer installed on your local hard drive here. So as you do other devices and the network especially, it will not show the icons, or it will not show the pictures. It'll just show just something like this, or just a generic icon. It won't show the actual thumbnails. And it says inherent thumbnail visibility from parent, so you can toggle that if you'd like. But you can also change this to show thumbnails no, which will not even show them on your local system if you prefer. And that will help, especially on older computers if they're struggling to load a big folder full of files and things. Or you can just put yes, and that will show them even on the network. But you'll if you do that, it will be considerably slower to access your if you have like a network drive or another computer that you're connecting to. So you may want to be careful with setting that. I usually just leave that to local files only myself, but and then there's also an option here that says only for files smaller than 4 gigabytes. So that's by default, and you can raise that if you want. So what that means is if you have a single file that's larger than 4 gigabytes, and that'll probably be like a video file, a really long one or something, or a big, there's not going to be too many files in most users' cases that are going to be larger than 4 gigabytes, but if there are, by default, it will not show a thumbnail for it. It will not show a thumbnail image. But you can change that. You can change it all the way up to 64 gigabytes and below if you prefer. Or if you don't need it that high and you say, oh, I only want to see images of files that are 1 gigabyte or smaller, then you can set that here. And then same with folders. It says count number of items, and local files only is the default, and you can do always or never, just like the yes and no for the show thumbnails. And this again, if you're using a network drive or anything like that, it will probably slow it down if you choose always, because it has a harder not harder time, but it takes longer for it to count number of files that are inside folders and things like that, especially when it's on removable media or network drive versus the internal storage. So and it's also got some options for tooltips. It says show tooltips in icon and compact views, show tooltips in list views, show tooltips on the desktop. So it says by default a folder tooltip shows the item count and files display their size. Select additional information to display in the tooltip. So if you do want to use tooltips, you can add additional info to them here as well, but by default they are not shown. So that's something you can you can do if you'd like. If you enjoyed this video and you want to learn even more, you can find my books at bookstoread.com/Jonathan. That's books, the number 2, read.com/JONATHAN.